Welcome to my Canva walkthrough. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to speak up because while I'm sharing my screen like this, I can't see you guys. So the main points that I'm going to go over today are I'll be talking a little bit about the layout of Canva, how Canva looks, different navigation. We'll be going into a little bit of designing, and then as I do some designing walkthroughs, I'll give you guys some sort of like tips and hacks that I've gained over my experience of designing. So I'll start first with the very basics by coming over to the Canva main page. So when you get into Canva, of course, you need to log in. So typically the way that I would log in is that a lot of websites allow you to sync up your Google account. So they have that option of log in with Google. So you could either create an account with your email or you can just click sign in with Google and then it automatically syncs everything up. So that's what I'm using. I'm just using my student account here and then I am logged in using that. Also, I'm not as cool as Miss Nuvali. I don't have a premium account. So the two main accounts on Canva are the free and the pro, which is the premium account. I've been using free ever since 6th or 7th grade when I found out about Canva. And I would say that for our school purposes and usually like what we do here in DCI, I would say that mostly free is going to give you enough stuff to work with that you don't need pro. You do have limitations on a free account of how much stuff you can design, how many images you can upload, but I would say that the amount and data storage is enough because, again, I've been using it since 7th grade. I've designed a lot of things over the years, and I have yet to hit that bar of they give me a warning that my storage is low. So that's accounts. Does anybody have any questions about accounts? No? Okay. I will come back here. And so I'm gonna get into kind of like navigating Canva, at least on the homepage. So right now what we're on is the homepage. As you can see here, they have this, can everybody see my mouse? Just to check.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is your homepage. You have a couple of recommendation options. These are all templates that you can browse through. You also have your recent designs, which are things that you've recently worked on. So this is what I've been recently working on. And then you also have your Instagram posts or other recommendations based on what you usually design. If you want to see everything that you design, you can come over here to this bar and you can click all your designs and you can see everything that you've designed here and then just keep scrolling and um, you'll find everything that you've designed in the past. So that's for the home page. Another thing that I want you guys to notice here is that I have this thing called my team. So on Canva, it allows you to create things called teams. So what it does is that you can add people by inputting their emails as long as they have an account, and then they can be added to your team. So what it creates is that these are people of my team that I've worked with before. Everybody in that team can see the designs that I put under this section. So I actually haven't used my section in a while, but people can see it here. The same thing is over here. Claire shared this one with me. It's the distance learning advice team. So if I open this up, essentially I will get something similar to here that says, except it's a distance learning team. And I can see everything that Claire inputs into there, and then Claire can see everything that I input into there. The good thing about team is that you can see everything in that folder, but you can't see their personal designs. So those are separate. It's just you can create and share really quickly. For sharing, I would still recommend that even though you do share it with the people that you're working with, still send them the link to the specific design because sometimes Canva acts up a little bit and just to be safe, share it and send them the link so they can access either way. So there's all that I had for the main page, the main things that you guys should focus on. So I'm gonna move on to templates. So far for navigation on the homepage, did anybody have any questions? No?
No.
So I'm gonna come over here to templates. So templates are probably the best part of Canva. They give you a lot of templates that are pre-designed, really cool and really aesthetic to look at. They have a huge variety of different types of templates. So you have your Facebook posts, you have your presentations, your video presentations, and so on. They have different layouts and they have different dimensions. So if you know specifically what you're trying to design, you can come over here and click it, Or if you have a specific dimension that you're hoping for, you can come over here to your top right corner that says create a design. You can click this and you can see this plus button of custom dimensions, and you can input which dimensions you want to create. Typically, unless you really know what specific dimensions you're shooting for, I would stick to coming over to a template and picking that size. So I'm going to get into a couple of recommendations that I have for um, templates that and dimensions that we can typically use for DCI or APN or Powwow purposes. So the first one is over here is presentations. So presentations, as the name implies, is that it allows you to design really cool presentations, like the one that I'm showing here, the Canva walkthrough presentation. These can really like up your school presentation game. It creates like really aesthetic looking presentations that look really professional, and then teachers like that, and then you can get good grades on those. So I use those for presentations. I also use it for editing videos. So the way that I utilize that is that I use it to create thumbnails. Technically, Canva does have a thumbnail option, but presentations, I'm a little more comfortable with the different designs that and templates that presentations gives me. So I do it on presentations. You can also use it for video dividers. So for example, in our um, Google Meets and Zoom tutorials, I use presentations to create those dividers in the videos. So that's presentations. The second one for school purposes is posters and flyers. Posters and flyers, the names might sound kind of similar, but they have different dimensions. But other than that, they're essentially pretty much the same. For posters and flyers, it doesn't really matter which one you work off of. You can still create a really cool looking advertisement. Um, so I use them pretty interchangeably. Like sometimes I'll start with a flyer, look through all the different templates. If I don't see something in the templates of flyers that I like, I'll hop on over to create a poster and then look through that. So either one works fine. The third thing is Instagram and Facebook posts. So these are pretty convenient for us to use. They are, as you can see here, Facebook posts, Instagram stories, and Instagram posts. They're pretty useful for our DCI purposes. And then the last one is Instagram stories and infographic. So now that I've talked a little bit about templates, there's obviously a lot more templates than that I just covered right now, but I'm gonna get into a couple of tips that I have that I've kind of noticed as I've designed more and more. So the first one is about Instagram and Facebook posts. So if you notice here, their Instagram and Facebook post templates are really photo focused. They're quite limited in the amount of stuff you can put on a image. So for example, you can see here, you have your Instagram posts that look like this, and then you have your Facebook posts that look like that. But typically for DCI, when you're trying to create a design for a Facebook post or Instagram post, we need to tell people some information. And the templates that are on here don't really allow you to do that. So what I typically would recommend is that actually start with a flyer or a poster. So open up the dimensions of a flyer and poster and use the templates for poster and flyer. So you can design everything on your poster and flyer, input all your information, and then once you're done with that, copy and paste all your elements, different parts of that design, and then paste it over to your Facebook or Instagram post, rearrange things a little bit, and then you can still get essentially the same looking design just on the Facebook and Instagram post dimensions. So that's the first tip. The second tip is that for Facebook and Instagram posts, you can't see it here, but their dimensions are actually quite small. So once you start finishing designing, you download it, you upload to this place, you upload it to that place. Eventually, as you send it to more and more different places, the quality is going to go down. And so when you're starting with already a small dimension and you're sending it and it keeps on going down, eventually it'll get really, really blurry. So one way to counteract that is that I would actually recommend copying and pasting things onto what is called an invitation. So if I search up invitation here real quick, invitations essentially look pretty much the same as the Instagram and Facebook posts. They still have that square setup. It's just they're a little bit larger in size. So to get around that issue of small dimensions, just open up a blank invitation and copy and paste all your material over to there. So that was for Instagram and Facebook posts. And then the final tip I have for this template section is for your Instagram stories. So your Instagram stories, essentially the same idea as your Instagram, Facebooks, and posts. Design on a flyer first, copy and paste everything to your Instagram story, and then rearrange so that you still have that full of information, really eye-catching design without having to focus on specifically adhering to the limits that the Instagram story gives you. So that's what I have for templates. Does anybody have questions before we move on to designing? No? Okay. I know I'm going through it really quickly, so just feel free to stop me anytime because Canva has a lot of stuff, and the best way that I'm gonna like emphasize over and over again is to just practice on it, and then you'll get familiar with it. Okay, so let's come over here to designing. So the way that you can start designing is that you search up whatever template you like, and as you saw here earlier, they give you a bunch of different templates, or you can create a blank template. What I typically recommend is that unless they have a specific recommendation that you're sure you really, really like, just start with a blank template. The reason being is that you can still change the template whenever you like. So the way that you do that is that you come here, you're at the very top, you see templates. So these are all the different templates that are available for a presentation dimension, presentation layout. I would say that by far, presentations have the largest array of different templates. So as you can see, as I keep on scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, you'll see these different categories. So brainstorm presentation, marketing presentation. So if you have a specific category that you have in mind that you want to design, you can click open a category by opening see all, and you will be able to see all the templates under that category. If you're not so sure about what specific category you want to work with, if you scroll down far enough, you have this thing that you can see called all results. For all results, it essentially takes everything that you can see in the categories and just puts it together in this huge jumble. So you can just scroll through and see which templates you like without necessarily having to like keep on opening different categories to see what template you want to use. So that's for template. In order to input a template, you just add a page. Let's say that typically this first page would be blank, but because I already did design, I need a second page. So you come over here and you have add page, you click it, it gives you a blank page. The reason that this is blue is because my previous page was blue. If I wanted to change it back to a certain color, you could come up here, you have this little box. Anytime this little box shows up, that means that you have something of color that you can change. So I can change it back to white, and then it becomes essentially looks like a blank template. So let's say, just for the sake of speed, I want to use this template. So I would just click it, open it here, and it imports that template to here. As you can see that unlike Google Slides or whatnot, it only imports one slide at a time. So this is great because you can mix and match different, specifically sure that you want to use only that template, you can apply all 9 pages and it's going to immediately generate every single page in that template. But if you didn't want to and you wanted to mix and match a little bit, you could come over here, click a second presentation, click it and upload, and then you would have a presentation that looks a little different. So that's for templates. Before I go on to the other widgets on the side, does anybody have questions for templates? No? Okay. I'm going to drink water first because my throat is getting really dry. Okay, so let's move on to the different options that Canva gives you once you start designing. The first one is, I'm going to skip over uploads, come over to photos. So photos, Canva gives you a whole bunch of different photos that you can use. So you can just look through these photos. They're all like really high quality. They kind of look like stock photos. You can use these. The only thing with this is that they are limited. So for example, I want to use a Canva photo and I have a specific thing that I'm looking for. For example, I searched this up earlier while practicing media. The thing is, you'll notice is that your options are limited. So if you come over here, if everybody can see this little crown thing, that means that you can only use this if you are subscribed to their pro. So technically you can still add the photo by clicking on it, but it gives you this Canva grid and then the Canva watermark that you don't want to see. So in order to counteract that, and Canva doesn't have a photo in their bank that you want to use, you can come over here to uploads. So uploads, you can upload a photo that you search on Google, go to images, save that photo, and you can upload something from your device. So those are two ways that you can get photos into your design. I'm going to skip over elements, go to text first. We'll come back to elements. So text. So let's just open up a blank page so I can show you guys different aspects of text. So as you can see here, for text, you have three different sizes. I personally think that these titles are a little bit misleading because let's just say I want to, let me just open all three of these. So you open it by just clicking on it. Um, I technically can make this large heading into anything I want to by simply changing the text size. So as you can see here, it says Open Sans Extra Bold. I can pretty much just click Open Sans Light and come over here and change the text size, and it'll just look exactly like, if I made it a little bit bigger, it'll look exactly like the heading. So less moral of the story, it doesn't really matter which one you pick because eventually you're most likely to end up changing the text type, the font size, and it'll look the same. So another thing to pay attention to is that they do have a few combinations that are available for you to use. These are really nice if you're kind of like stuck with ideas, you don't really know what you want to see. You can come over here, look at different combinations, and select which one you want to use. So let me delete this really quick. The only thing that I would warn against for using these combinations is that let's say I want to use this Cheers to the New Year's one. If I open this up, open please, you'll see that this, as I reorganize it, it stays together as the same size. The reason being is that these combinations are stuck together in what is known as group. So the way that you can counteract that, everything in Canva can be counteracted except for the watermarks. You come over here and there's this button called Ungroup. Click Ungroup, and then as you can see, it changed. So these elements are no longer the same. You can move them around separately and however you like. So if you really like a font that you saw in combination and you don't know what name it is, you can do that, separate things, and then use them however you like. So there is the combinations. Before I go on to actually editing text, does anybody have anything, questions about text? Good, okay. I know this is long, but there's a lot of stuff in Canva, and I get really excited about this stuff. All right, so changing text. So the way that you change text is like it's pretty much like Google Drive. You select your text, you come up here, there's different options for text that you can use. So this one is called playlist script. You can change the text to whatever you like to see. Let's just say I want to use this. But for example, if I didn't like the way this looked, but I also didn't know the specific name of the font I wanted to see, you can come over here to the search bar. So here in the search bar, you can enter the name. So for example, if I wanted to use Arial, it doesn't give me Arial, but you get the idea. You can search up what font you want to use. But like I said earlier, if you don't know what type of font you want to use, but you have a general idea of what it might look like, Canva gives you a couple of categories that you can use. So it goes on and on. But let's say I wanted something that looks a little bit handwriting. I would open up the handwriting category, and then they would give you this whole array of different fonts that kind of look like handwriting, and you can just scroll and see which one you would like to use. So let's say I want to do this one. I wanted to use Sunday. Cheers. Changing the text size, you can just select everything and then click through which one you want to use, or just immediately just type it up here. Let's say I wanted to use 80 instead of 180, you do that. Changing text color, come over to this A and with the text color, and you can select colors from this bottom part. Canva also gives you color recommendations based on other colors that you have seen in this design, or you can use stuff from previously used. If you want to select a unique color, you come up to this rainbow looking box and you can drag this little circle around to show whatever color you want to see. Okay. So this is going to lead me into my first tip now that we see how to change color. Canva gives you a bunch of different really cool presets and all of that, and you could also do that click and drag thing. But for example, if you saw something, a very specific color that you wanted to use, but you didn't know what color it was, I would recommend downloading something called a extension, eyedropper extension. So as you guys can see here, I have this little eyedropper extension. It's a free Chrome extension that I like to use. If I click this open, it allows me to pick a color from my web page. So for example, I want to pick a color from, like just for the sake of it, I wanted to use this blue color. I would, this little box, hover it over whichever color I wanted to use, click, and then if you notice this changed from purple to blue, I would open it up, and then it would give me the different text codes for that specific color. So now all I had to do is just copy and paste this, Command C, come over here to new color, Command V, and I would get whichever color I wanted to use. Okay, so that was my first tip for it. All right, coming back to different designs that Canva allows. So you have underline, and then typically you would normally have italics and bold, but for some Canva text, it doesn't let you do that. These would pop up in normal colors for other texts. They also have automatic uppercase. So this is a bad font to show you guys what that is because it's already in all caps. Let me change it to something else. Let's just say just this text, for example. Cheers. If I wanted to change everything in all caps automatically without having to retype everything, I would select this uppercase. Everything would turn into uppercase. And then you have your regular alignment. So you have side, everything, other side, center. And then you have bullet points, and then line spacing. So spacing on Canva is a little bit different than spacing on Google Docs. You have this really cool thing called letter spacing. So instead of like adding spaces in between every single letter, if you want to space things out, you can just click and drag this widget, and it allows you to change how much space goes in between things. Other thing is line height. So for example, if I had a second line under this, to the new year, and then I want to change how far the lines were from each other, I could click and drag for bigger space, click and drag for smaller space. Right. So there's that. Up until here, does anybody have any confusions about text? It's pretty straightforward. It's essentially the same as what you would see on Google Docs. Okay. So the next cool aspect of fonts that I want to show you guys, let me get rid of this really quick, is effects. So if you come over here, you can see this thing called sparkle. Sparkle is sparkly. It has this glow effect, not because of what font type you used, but actually because of this thing called effects. So if I open up effects here, click it, you'll see that the reason why it's giving that glow is because I have it set on neon effects. So I can change my intensity of how much it glows by clicking and dragging, and then it becomes more looking like a normal font, or it becomes more like a glowing font. Okay, so play around with these. They have like shadow, lift. What lift does is that it puts a shadow underneath it, so it looks like it's popping off the page. Hollow, as what the icon looks like. Splice, echo, and so on. Splice has something really cool that I wanted to show you. It allows you to control offset. So what this is that you can change where you put shadow. It's a little bit hard to see on this font. Let me change this real quick. Do something else that's easier to see. Effects, offset. Oh, I think it was echo that I mentioned. Offset is how far or how close the shadow is from your text. And then direction is you can choose which rotation you want to see it on. And then you have glitch, neon, which I showed you earlier, and curve, which shapes your items like a curve. So that's all there is for text. Before I go into elements, which is probably the biggest section, anyone have confused so far? No? Okay.
No, I just want a quick comment that, yeah, don't feel rushed. This stuff is awesome. And the I haven't been in Canva in a little while, and it's cool to see the new features. And you touched on a lot of them, which is really cool with the text and the shadowing and all that. So thanks for kind of walking us through those to how to do that, because that's how you really up your graphic design game with some of those technical aspects and the text and make it kind of pop. That makes it really professional, but yet easy to do. So thank you for showing us all that.
Mhm. No problem. So Canva is really, it's constantly updating. I would say that this summer they updated a lot of things. So there are still probably a lot of things that I haven't noticed that they did update. So again, like I said earlier, play around with it. You'll figure it out. All right. So I'm gonna delete this so we can go on to elements. Oh, one last thing about text. Um, the reason why templates are so great is because it makes sure to keep everything in your design organized. So I know texts are really cool, but make sure that you don't use a bunch of like different texts and then all across your design, because then it gets super distracting. So just because it's really fancy doesn't mean it's great. All right, so let's come over to elements, which is this little widget. Let me X out of that. I was searching something earlier. So this is, it will load. All the different elements, icons, stickers, whatever you want to call it, that you can use in Canva. So as you can see, just like templates before, it's separated into categories. So you have your featured, which are some of the things that Canva might recommend that you use. So right now it's during the holiday season, so they're recommending me a bunch of like flowers and wreaths and those kinds of things. You have like lines, shapes, frames. I'll explain that really quick. Stickers, which are these moving ones, charts, grids, gradients, and then more categories. All right. So to input anything from here, you just click it, and then it comes up here. Or you can click and then drag it to paste it somewhere that's more specific. And then even if you did click it, you can still drag things around and then position them however you like. All right. So this frame, as the name implies, allows you to input photos into this set size. So right now I'm at a circle. So let's say I want to input a photo into this frame. I could either come over to my uploads or come over to photos. So let's say I wanted to use this image. What I would do is click, drag, and then hover it over the frame. And as you can see, it's already inputted, and then I can let go. The reason why I'm emphasizing that you have to make sure to see that it's already in the photo frame is that very briefly earlier, you guys might have noticed that as I was dragging it over to my background also changed to that image. So if I wasn't careful, I could have dropped it into my background, and then my background would have become the way it looks now. When you only have a couple of elements, it probably doesn't really matter. But when you have a bunch of different frames in one place, it gets a little confusing. So just make sure, click, drag, hover, double check, and then put it in. So that's frames. I'm gonna delete these really quick so we can go on to other icons. So coming back to elements, let's say that I wanted to insert a element or a sticker onto here. So what I would do is that if I have something in mind, let's say I was creating an advertising flyer for DCI and I wanted to input, per se, a camera. So I would come up here, search camera, and it would give me this whole array of different cameras I can use. So again, you can see that little crown. These are the ones that stay away from because they'll give you that crisscross and watermark. So let's say I wanted to use this camera. Click, drag, or just click and then move it around. So this is essentially a sticker. It's really simple. It's really easy to find. You can use as many as you want on a design. The cool thing about Canva is that you can change the color of your stickers. Some of them allow this, some of them don't. For example, if I open this one right here, you would notice that I can't change the color. So how can I tell that I can't change the color? So notice that I'm selecting this one. Up here it says crop and flip. But then if I selected this pink camera, it gives me these little boxes. So anytime you see these little boxes, that means there's some color that you can change. So let's say I wanted to change this blue color. I would click the box. It would give me all the different color palettes I wanted to use. and I could change, let's say I want to change it to this blue. I could change the color, and I can do that the same thing for every single category that it allows me to. So this is pretty ugly, but the colors don't really match. But you guys get the idea. So that's for changing colors. A cool different addition that Canva updated over the summer is this thing called magic recommendations. So when you click an icon, they give you this little box of magic recommendations that are similar to the design that you just used that they think that you might want to see as well. So I click see all. It gives me a whole different array of different things that I can use in combination with this icon. The reason being is that Canva recently updated by telling you which artist is responsible for these. So I could come through here, scroll through, see which ones I liked, or if I really like this artist's certain style, I could come here, click view more, and then I can see every single thing that that artist has designed for Canva's purposes. All right, so let me check my paper of all the stuff I want to talk about. That's what I have for inputting icons. Before I go on to moving stuff around, resizing, anyone have questions about icons?
No, but the magic recommendations is super cool. I didn't know about that update because when you had the camera, the Polaroid camera, then it had the magic recommendations on that first page of magic recommendations had like the actual photo that could be under it. And it just goes so hand in hand with that. And you could import somebody's photo in there, but it's it really is a magical recommendation because you may not have used that, but it just goes so well and it flows well with the other image that you use. So that's really cool, that update.
Yeah, especially if you, this was something I was designing earlier. If you clicked open this one, let's say I wanted to use this icon. Sometimes when you're designing a graphic, you want everything to look more or less of the same design. So for example, if I was doing a design with these two different camera icons, they would look really disharmonious because they're not the same design. They're not the same line shape. So if I went over and I searched media, let me see if I can find this one again. It's right here. I clicked open this. It would give me recommendations, everything that looks more or less the same style. So it can help you keep your consistency when you're trying to design something. So like Mr. France said, it's really handy. So you don't have to keep on searching around for stuff. All right. So to resize things, for those of you guys familiar with Google Draw and all of that, it's really simple. This little arrow allows you to drag things around. The bottom, if you hover, this allows you to rotate. Canva tells you actually the angle. As you can see, that little black box. If you want to get really specific on what angle it is, let me bring it back to 0, 0. Comes back to here. Cropping, you can either click this crop button, and then it gives you this. You can crop. Or you can just double click on the icon, and it still gives you the same crop. So 2 ways to access crop. Flip, so you can flip it horizontally, you can flip it vertically, so on. And then position, I know that it allows you to, but I would really stay away from this because it fixes you in a position that you might not like. So as you can see, I clicked bottom and right. And then so now I'm stuck with this thing in the bottom right hand, and the only way I can get rid of it is doing undo. You can't like unclick it. So I would stay away from positioning. If you come over here, transparency, by dragging this bar, you can control how transparent things are. And then if you wanted to lock this in place, you were like really confident with the way you placed it, you wanted to add a whole bunch of other things on top of it without having to worry about moving it around, then click lock. Come over here, click lock, and it locks this in place. So if I added this and I was moving, no matter how hard I tried to drag this, it wouldn't move, and then I could freely operate other things. So let me just unlock this really quick to show you a couple more things. So if you had multiple things on one Canva page, they're technically on separate layers. So just like Google Drawings, if you double click, use 2 fingers, double click, and then it gives you this. So you can send it to the very back, or you can, as you can see, bring it forward, bring it one layer forward, or bring it all the way to the front, bring it to the front, brings it in front of everyone else. So I think that was it for what I had for icons moving around and uploading icons. Does anybody have any questions about that section? No? Okay. The last thing that I'm going to say about icons is that
Amvitha has a quick question, I believe. She popped up her hand.
Sure.
Go ahead, Amvitha.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to say, ask, how did you lock the pictures again, Kathy?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me show you that again. So if you come over here, let me get rid of these. These are a little distracting. Put this one over here. So let's say that like Canva, it gives you this like blue outline every time like you're selecting something. So let's say I want to lock this green thing. Come over here to the top. You see the lock button? You
Yes.
click lock, and then it becomes this like selected thing. You can't change anything about it. So it's locked. And then so now you can't move it around. And then if you want to unlock it, just click it again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay. The last icon that I want to talk about are the moving icons. These moving icons are, I think they're around a year old on Canva. They're really convenient. They're just like these GIFs that you can use. The only issue with these is that they don't allow you to change color with these little boxes. So sometimes it's a little hard to use them because they don't really fit your color scheme. Some of them allow you to change colors, but it's quite rare. So you can come over here and click which, let's say that I wanted to use this one. These are really cool for like Instagram posts and Instagram stories, much less actual presentations. So it just moves. All right. So that's all I had for icons. All right, so I'm gonna do a couple of other things to wrap up, and then I'll do downloading tips and then some final overall design tips. So the other categories that you see here, music, videos, background, and folders, I typically don't use very much. Music allows you to attach music onto this. For example, if you had a moving element, it would automatically turn your design not into a photo, it would turn it into a video. So you could add music, but as you can see, a lot of them is on premium, so I would typically stay away from that. You have videos that you could also input. They have these that are also pretty cool. Backgrounds, which change your, I accidentally locked my background. Change your background. So I typically stay away from these as well because they're quite generic. Typically, if you want to change your background, you can just come over to photos and then select something and drag like I showed you guys earlier, or come up here, click your background color box, and then change your background color to whatever you would like to see. And then folders. So folders are different things that you can see. So for example, if you really like an icon, you can click something called a like when you are over here in elements, and then you can store that here. And purchased are the ones that you bought using Pro. That's it for these over here. And come back to templates. I think that was it for that section. Okay. The last thing I have about designing is how to download it, because obviously you've made a nice design. Now you need to download it. All right, so let's come back up here. It doesn't really matter where we are. Let's say that I want to download this presentation now. So downloading gives you multiple options. If you come over here, click this little download button, come over here, they give you different options to download. You have PNG and JPEG. So both of them you can use, but I really recommend using PNG because it's, as it says, high quality image. So you want to use the highest quality you have, and it's all free. PDF standard, PDF print, both of these are fine. PDF standard and PDF prints are usually what you would use for like flyers, posters, or for example, I've actually designed like resumes on here, so you can use that. SVG, which is settled to premium. MP4 video, so anytime you have a moving object on your design, instead of just like solid objects, it gives you this MP4 video option. So these are good for if you had a moving object and you wanted to input it as a video divider. And then GIF, which is, as it says, short clip, no sound. So those are the ways that you can download it, different types that you can download it as. You can select which pages you want to download. Clicking this one allows you to download all pages at once, or you can manually select which ones you want to download and then download those. Just keep in mind that when it downloads multiple pages at once, it downloads as a zip file instead of individual images. All right, let me check my paper and then, all right, I think that was it for what I wanted to say about all of this. So I'm going to wrap up, and then if you guys have any questions, just feel free to speak out, but I'll just give some final tips about downloading and designing. So like I said earlier, just really play around with it. Design more things. It doesn't really have to like look great the first time around. It's okay to stick to templates the first time around, but as you design more and more and more, what you'll realize is that there's this part of this template that you like, there's this part of that template that you like. You can mix and match different templates by copy and pasting things around to get something that looks more unique and less recognizable, because as a person that has used Canva for quite a couple of years now, I can like walk around on campus and I see like different club posters and I'm like, hey, it's that template. I can literally name off the template name. So as you get more used to it, it would be good to mix and match things so it's more unique to your own self and you have your own style. Another tip that I would do is create something called an idea bank. So in order to create an idea bank, what you would do is that you would create another presentation or a flyer or just any empty template. So what you would do is that, let's say I was designing this, and then I came over here and I saw a template that I really liked, but it's not applicable to my current design. What I would do is that I would copy and paste everything that I saw from that template onto another blank design. And then the only thing with that is that one thing you need to watch out for is that, for example, let's say I really like this social media marketing trends one. I click it open, I upload this template. I would select everything by click and dragging and highlighting everything, copy and pasting it onto another thing. What you want to watch out for is that the name of this does not match up to the name of this. So social media marketing trends, if you had inputted it into the search bar, you would not be able to see this template. What you need to do is actually create a text box and then write down the entire name of that template in order to search it up in the future and see all of this. So that's just the one thing about Canva that you need to keep an eye out for. The same thing with icons. If you saw an icon that you really liked, copy and paste it onto a blank template. And then for icons, you don't need titles because you can just copy and paste it all over the place. So yeah, that was for idea banks. And then you can just have pages and pages on the same design and then just all your ideas in one place. So for future reference. And then I think that's it for what I had to say about tips. And then on a final note, just to reiterate, like I said again, play around with it. Everything's super fun. And then you'll get more familiar with it as time goes on. All right. Does anyone have questions?
Bravo. We'll take some questions for sure. Okay, Sophia, question away.
Thank you. First of all, great presentation. I'm just getting used to Canva, so seeing that it's like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, you know? But I was just wondering, like, because I usually do it on my phone because I do it kind of like to go, you know? So it's obviously better to do it on a computer. But is there anything that you have noticed that you can't do on the phone app, whereas you can do it on the computer?
I actually am not the person that you want to ask because I have never done it on the phone. Because I've never done it on done it on the go. So you're actually in a better position to answer than I am.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've used Sophia, I've used the mobile app a couple times, and you can do most things on it. Not everything, but what is also cool about the mobile app is, say you create it on your desktop and then you want to make a quick change later on the go, all your designs are on the mobile app. So if you're just doing something quick and simple, you can definitely do it on the mobile, which is really cool. But I would imagine that you probably do get a little more horsepower with the desktop than the mobile app, but it's nice to have both options for sure.
And I will just piggyback off of that. So I've definitely worked both on the mobile app and the desktop. Desktop, especially if you have a lot of text, it's the place to start off with because you just have a lot more control. It's so much harder to like grab the little text on your screen and like narrow it down and make sure everything's just right. So if you can start it off or at least get the primary pieces on a desktop on your Chromebook or whatnot, and then add pictures or stickers or whatever you want to do from your mobile app, then it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, and just to reiterate a point that Kathy briefly touched on, just because you can do so much in Canva and even any other graphic design program doesn't mean you should. The point, especially for us with graphic design, is message absorption. If there's too much color, there's too many graphics, too many photos, different kind of fonts, different sizes, and the like, it becomes confusing and hard for the user to import the information, to digest it. The goal for graphic design, quality graphic design, is not to make it this aesthetic art piece that Picasso would have done, right? It is to get information to be easily digestible. So that means like you need to think, what is this going digitally? Is this going to be a poster in the hallway? If it's a poster in the hallway, I need to make my fonts bigger than I think they need to be because it's on a computer screen, right? Because I can't see it walking past 10 feet away. I'll drive down the 210 and people are paying a premium for these billboards, which is what? It's just a large poster. It's a large brochure. It's a graphic design. And I can't read the text. I'm going 65, the speed limit, of course, but I can't read it in the time, right? So that's a poorly designed. It may look super cool on your computer. Your friends might go, oh, that's great artwork, but that defeats the purpose of getting the message to the consumer, whoever your audience may be. So keep that in mind. Use Google as an example. It is the most powerful website in the world. Go to google.com and you will see no more than 7 images. It is a search box. That's it. Can it take you to a million different things? For sure. But simplicity and keeping it just easily digestible is the way to go for graphic design. Now, there may be some things that there's some exceptions with, but just don't get too crazy. It's the same thing I see in some marketing videos. Just because you can use a million transitions and audio and all this stuff doesn't mean you should. Keep the end user in mind. You want them to understand and absorb the information, not to see a pretty picture, right? So great point by Kathy. And just, it's really important to reiterate because you see a lot of things, even posters at school, you'll see them, they go, it looks cool, but if you walk away and don't know what that poster's for, it's not a good graphic design.
And then another thing to piggyback off of that is that if you guys right now feel like you guys don't have that eye for design, you don't have that eye for that aesthetic, it's okay because Canva is a really great place to start because it has all those templates. And then by using more and more templates, you'll see like, how did they position this? What kind of color tones did they use? What did they use to match with it? How do different things look together? Eventually, as you design more and more, you'll be able to see like, hey, this looks out of place. Sometimes templates, I even feel like they have too much going on, and then you can select and delete stuff. So Canva, great place to start because it essentially takes you on baby steps.
Yeah, Canva's really been a game changer for PR and marketing folks because you can make it look as great as you want, but it's very user friendly. And as Kathy said, you don't need to be an expert. You can just hop in there, and she said it a few times, but it's a great point. Just play around. You'll see how easy it is. You'll see what you like, what you don't like. And just start with the templates, and you can, start with a basic template, and you can remove some of the elements like, oh, I like that, but it's a little too busy. You just go in, get the template, and just remove an element or two or change it. It's very editable. It's user friendly, and that's why Canva is really skyrocketing. They have the free account, and you can even buy like some of the elements that are with the pro account. You can buy those for like $1 or $2. or as Kathy's great tips, you can download it from Google. Make sure it's all trademark and legal. But Canva is a game changer. It can make you look like a graphic design expert, and it's really easy to use. So it's great. Any other questions for Kathy on Canva?
If you guys ever have any designs, I know that Daniel has a really good eye for that stuff. So if you guys can send it to him, and he'll probably give you guys really good feedback, or you can send it to me, and then I can tell you maybe like a specific sticker name that you guys could probably use, because I have a lot of stuff in there.
Kathy, thank you so much. That was a fantastic presentation. And as we talk about whether you're into graphic design, like it or not, you go into this field or you don't, it's super valuable to learn Canva, try it, just try a sample thing for whatever makeup club or whatever you want. But if you get to a college club, your internship, and you can say, hey, I can make a poster for that, your value skyrockets big time. So it's a great skill to have, whether you go into these types of fields or not, that you can offer a quick, hey, I can make something really nice, and people will be impressed that your end product using Canva or something similar. So give it a try, test it out, and just mess around with it and see what you can create. Round of applause for Kathy, a virtual round of applause. That was amazing, very helpful. I'm actually going to send this video probably to my PR group, because everyone's asking for easy graphic design stuff, and I think a lot of people will get a lot of use out of it. And I love the updates in there, because they update a lot too, which is great. Sometimes even Google will put something out there, a product, but they don't update it for years. The new updates in Canva, the summer updates you went over, magic recommendations and all that, very helpful.